You would have thought really by now that the current British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer, might have got a few things right, given he's now polling so badly as the worst ever living British Prime Minister in terms of popularity. Something that apparently the team at Downing Street basically say, no, it's not, you are popular, don't believe what the press are saying. But now the bigger picture is not about what the press are saying, it's about exactly one of the most important and powerful men in the world, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And this is going to be very dangerous if Keir Starmer truly gets this wrong. As ever, let me explain. Good to see you, chums. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll have a lovely wave. Welcome back, of course, if you've had a bit of a rest. I know what it's like. The news is just relentless, isn't it? And let's be honest, I told you about this particular debacle with the BBC a couple of days ago. I don't mean that, but you just knew what was coming. Having worked for these big organisations, with the likes of Tim Davie, Deborah Turnus, they have no idea how this looks to the outside world. We're talking, of course, about the shambles with the doctrine of the footage of the President of the United States, the BBC, allowing it to go out and 6 months down the line, still, can't get it right, and suddenly their own turn upon them. Now, what's interesting, this is an important piece, in fact, but what's interesting about this is the people who actually doctored the footage still remain on full pay in their positions. So there's 2 points really that spring to mind to me. Tim Davie has now said he's going, as is the head of news, the CEO, Deborah Turnus. I worked for her at NBC and at Sky. I'll leave that bit there. And also, I believe the chair of the BBC, Samir Shah, should go. And this is a simple reason why. When he came to my studio, we were going to make some programmes with the BBC. And this just proves how weak these people are. The particular presenter that he had, he'd already proved a bit of a ratings flop elsewhere, so they were coming back to the BBC and they were going to do something else. And this particular presenter wanted to do a lengthy intro monologue, right? And I said, well, why don't you just dump the monologue, and just go straight into the show? Oh, no, we couldn't do that. Why not? Well, no, because the presenter, he'd get upset. I said, but you're the boss. Oh, no, we couldn't do it. And this was the argument. Now, when you have that level of weakness at the top, you have to say to yourself, what chance does the rest of the organisation say? So why is this a problem now for the President of the United States? Well, at this point, you will be aware that he's now threatening to sue the BBC. And in effect, I would say this is going to be an interesting dichotomy, because if he does, it's obviously going to be very expensive for the British taxpayer. So I'm not quite sure where that goes. But I think the whole sort of balloon of the BBC is about to explode. Now, the problem that you have is this. Keir Starmer, the current British Prime Minister, basically claimed recently that he was standing by the Director General, Tim Davie, which is always a kiss of death when Keir says this, because if you remember, he was standing by the Deputy British Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. She went. And then he was standing by, of course, the disgraced American ambassador, Lord Peter Mandelson. They went. So, a bit of a kiss of death, basically, for whatever Keir Starmer says. But the fact that at the time of recording this, he hasn't come out and defended the actions of the President of the United States and said, look, we need the fuller picture, we need to know what's going on. He's just hunkered down, hoping, like all of these disasters that the government are doing over here, just will go away. But the President is not going away. Now, a lot of people criticise in the comments on here and say, oh, you're a Trump fanatic. I'm telling you the sides of the story. This is impartial, and this is why it's important. President Trump has a very solid legal case. That's the deal. Clearly, the BBC have lied and doctored that footage. It's going to cost a lot of money. That's not about taking sides. It's about exactly the facts. And part of the reason, the facts have not been portrayed. Now, the other side of it is, if the Prime Minister was to intervene at this point and say, it's a terrible day for journalism, I'll be thoroughly looking into this. Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, claims that she didn't see the full edited tape. Now, the BBC are telling me that all of that was sent to her office. So again, who's telling the truth? You see how important this is, and this is going to be very detrimental of exactly how the BBC now looks moving forward, given all the scandals that they've had, even just this year with the likes of the Glastonbury guy and all of that sort of stuff. This is a pivotal moment, and it actually all now hinkers on the fact of what the president does next. But once again, Keir Starmer remains, well, very suspiciously silent. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.